We're hiking the Sugarland Mountain Trail today. But first, we dropped a car this morning at Fighting Creek Gap on Clingman's Dome Road, where we'll actually start the hike. And you start right here at the Fork Ridge Trailhead. Sign. Well, we're going to start across the street. There's a little sign that says Appalachian Trail. We'll walk 100 yards on that trail, maybe a little less. Turn left on the AT, and then it's just a short 2/10 of a mile or so up to the Sugarland Mountain Trail. So here we go.
We need them to?
I think we're going to. It's pretty icy. We're going to probably pop our spikes on. We'll find out in a few minutes. Yep, we're going to need micro spikes. So we're already to the AT. It's like maybe 20 yards. It's 2/10 of a mile. The Sugarland Mountain Trail. And I'm going to pop on some micro spikes real quick. Okay, so what are micro spikes? These are Cthulhu micro spikes right here. And they slip over your boot or shoe. And they have these little spikes in the bottom that'll dig into the ice, and it's basically just walking with like you're walking on dry pavement. So I'll pop these on and then we'll be good to go on the ice. Probably need them for a couple of miles, I imagine. Here they are on my boot. It's the first day of April. We're hiking on the Appalachian Trail on our way to the Sugarland Mountain Trail, and it is so beautiful up here today. I think we're about 5,400 feet, 5,500 feet in Winter Wonderland on April Fool's Day 2019. Yeah. We're at 1/3 of a mile from the car to the intersection now with Sugarland Mountain. So all the mileages I give today are going to be from the car and not from this trailhead intersection. And it's from here 12.1 miles to Fighting Creek Gap where we left the truck. So it's 29 degrees right now, and usually if I were hiking at temperatures this cold, I wouldn't have a hydration bladder. I'd just use a bottle for my water. Well, I've got my hydration bladder, and of course my tube's exposed, so we're gonna have to keep sipping on water to keep that tube from freezing. Also, this trail doesn't have a lot of water sources, so I packed 2 liters of water in my bladder this morning. Lots of ice today. We're 6/10 of a mile from the Fork Ridge Trail. We're coming up on the side trail to the shelter.
Okay, trail name.
Do you have one yet?
You don't have one yet?
No.
No?
Spitfire, but it wasn't a very good one.
You'll probably get one before the day's out.
Well, let us
Right,
get
sounds
your
good.
3 pictures by the time.
There's the Mount Collins shelter. Pretty location. There's a sign here for the burn area for the wildfire that was in October or November, I can't remember now, 2016. And just warning you to, not be here if it's windy or raining, because a lot of the trees are still coming down, the big limbs out of the trees, and the dead trees are still falling over. And I'm sure as we go down, we'll see a lot of blowdowns when we get to the burn area, which is still a couple of miles from here. Coming up on the spring for the Mount Collins shelter, and I'll shoot some video of that when we get there. Now we're coming up on the spring, and we're at 8/10 of a mile from the car. I'll show you the spring. There aren't many water sources in this area. Flare carried so much water today. This is a good one.
I remember after a while this rock gets better.
Yeah.
I can't remember how far, but how far is it?
So we're a mile from the car, and the trail has already kind of started to make a marked change. We're in more of a balsam type forest here. The trail is still pretty steep down, not quite as rocky, and nowhere near as icy. Of course, most of the year it wouldn't be icy anyway, but we're able to walk a little bit faster now. So this is kind of the reason you don't want to be here up in this area when it's real windy or after a lot of rain, because these trees come down pretty frequently. We're not even in the burn area yet, and this thing could put a serious hurting on you. This tree wasn't down when we went through here in the fall last year. At 1.1 miles, we come to our first small climb here. .4 miles, and I think we have finally gapped out, so That climb was about a third of a mile, and what would you say, 400 feet? No, 200 feet.
200.
It was 200 feet. Yeah. We're just a bit under 2 miles now, and we've switched over to the left side of the west side of Sugarland Mountain. So we're getting great views back to the south and west. A couple of times we've seen Clingman's Dome. You can see way off in the distance the AT, Myrie Ridge, Briar Knob. At the 2 mile mark, you're going to walk out onto a spine, and you will have a great view, and I won't be able to show it here because of the camera I'm using today, but Mount LeConte is right over there. You can see cliff tops, you can see Myrtle Point, you can see Mingus Mountain right next to us on the right, and off to the west we saw Thunderhead, Mount Love, and Clingman's Dome, Briar Knob, at 2 miles. So when you walk on this spine, you'll know. You'll see the views. Worth the trip. Now we're 2.6 miles from the car. And the forest is much less rocky through here. We've had views of Mount LeConte, of the chimneys, Mount Mingus. The trail is back on the east side of Sugarland Mountain now. Not as much ice, but we've left our spikes on for now, which is bad because the snow is really wet, so we're making giant snowballs under our feet. But you still need them to some extent. We're at about 3 miles now, and we're in heavy wet snow. We're approaching the manway for the chimney tops. I'll point that out when we get there. Beginning to melt. It's making it look like a little mini snowstorm. So since the 3 mile mark, it's been pretty level, just a little bit of ups and downs, kind of steep on the sides, the slope. The trail itself has been pretty even. We're at 3.5 miles, and we just now start getting really first good views of the burn area on the Sugarland Mountain Trail. It's that ridge straight through there with the bare top on it. I don't know you can see it through the trees or not with the GoPro. We are climbing just a little bit here, and the trail is a little bit narrow and steep off the side. You can see there's 3 other sets of footprints in the snow. They look like they're crusted over, so they must have went down through here yesterday after the snow. We're 3.6 miles, and you come to this old, I think it's a chestnut trunk, and right below it is the manway to the chimneys. It's pretty open still even. I can see a good ways down there. And then out on the point, you can see the chimney. We're about 600 or 700 feet from the first chimney. Somebody's actually been down the manway. That was the people we've been following.
Guess what? The footprints stopped. They went down that
They
way.
went down there, huh?
Yep.
So that's how they went down then.
That's where they went down.
And then above us, and I don't know if it's going to show up on GoPro or not, but you can see what we call the nose, which is cliff tops at Mount LeConte. And then off in the distance, you got Pigeon Forge. Way off to the right is Douglas Lake. And way off in the distance, you can see the Clinch Mountains. Okay, at 3.8 miles, you're going to start to see the trail turn away. And as it does, you want to turn back. You get a pretty good view of the chimneys right here. And later on, we'll have another view in the burn area, but this is a good close view here. We're at 4 miles and we just now entered the burn area. And you immediately get a view looking back into Gallenberg, Chalet Village, Pigeon Forge. The first ridge, the closest ridge to us, is where the Bullhead Trail runs across, and the flat area right there is where the pulpit is. 4.1 miles. We just went out of spikes and we're in the snow. It's going to be sporadic, probably like it was the other day when we were on the AT. We didn't need them on that. So hopefully we can get around it with minimal difficulty. Having to navigate a series of blowdowns, slowing us down a little bit. 4.4 miles. We're getting a really great view into the Rough Creek Valley and then further over the Little River Valley. 4.5 miles. This is a new blowdown. I don't remember this being here.
Oh. Yeah. What are we going to do?
We're looking into the Little River Valley, and the valley that's running straight across from us is Goshen Prong. And then there's a big cut out in the middle right there. That's Little River. And then directly below us is the Rough Creek watershed. Woo! 4.6 miles. We're going to walk our little spine. Somewhere down there where we can get out of the wind.
And you know what? It goes almost back like this.
Yeah, it goes right below us.
Yeah.
That's why I keep watching for it to see if I can see it below us.
I'd say we're about 3 10.
But it drops off pretty steep too. Look at all the briars down there though. It's no wonder the trail's the way it is.
Yeah, I see 'em.
We're going to parallel this for a while.
Ooh, what's that coming down on my head? Somebody's cleared all this.
Yeah, I think when they were reopening the trail after the fire, they cleared it.
Okay, that's why this trail's closed forever with
Yeah. All right, we're at 5.25 miles, and coming up on our left is the Rough Creek Trail, which if you needed to, you could bail out here, and in about 3 miles you could be on the Little River Trail, and then it's another maybe 3 miles from there back to camp. We're going to continue on down to Fighting Creek Gap, 7.3 miles. And our next major intersection is Husky Gap at 4.2 miles. So, here we go. 5.6 miles roughly. We just finished a small climb. I'd say maybe 50, 75 feet. So expect that after the Rough Creek intersection. And I can see another little climb coming up here just after this spine. 6.6 miles. You don't want to miss this step. Yeah, you can see the bullhead out of the trail.
Yeah.
We were way above it. Now we're kind of even with it, just slightly above it. Don't want to miss this step. Here's Gallenberg. We're at 6 miles. Coming up to a spine with some really good views of town. If you're into that kind of thing. But the best part is, you can look over here and see all the rock on the face of Bullhead. And then on the other side of us is the Little River Valley watershed. I can't see it probably with this camera, but up there, those two peaks up there, the one on the left, with the naked eye you can see Klingman's Dome up there. We're starting another little climb. Seems to be a pattern here. 50 feet up, 250 down. 40 feet up, 200 down. We've done that several times now in the last mile and a half or so. I think we're going to be like 9.6 when we get there. We're at 6.2 something now. So we're in a kind of a different area now. It's a lot of, looks like young rhododendron I mean, and there's some mountain laurel up here. Very different. This has been a pretty long climb here too. We're about halfway through the hike now, somewhere around 6.3 miles. It's a pretty long pull right here. Now we're back into more of a deciduous forest. Still climbing just a little bit. That was a big tree. The forest is just so beautiful through here. Last time I was through here, it was all leaving out. It was beautiful then too. 7.25 miles now. It's been quite a bit steeper going down, and it's really starting to green up where we're at. We left the snow a few miles back. And we're at 7.5 miles. We got these giant boulders now. Starting to hear a little river down below us on the left. Now we're walking on pine needles, so we've got a really soft trail. Probably won't last very long, but it was nice to walk on pine needle carpet for a little bit. We're at about 8.1 miles. Nice, easy down track. We're at 8.4 miles, and we've descended at 3,500 feet elevation, and we're just starting to see wildflowers. And it's April 1st, 2019. In the Smoky Mountains. We're at 8.5 miles. We just passed the old Medicine Branch campsite, which is not a campsite anymore. There were 2 sets of bear cables hanging there, but really not any place to set a tent. It's illegal to do so anyway.
Down as far as you can see.
A lot more deciduous leaves on the trail. We're about less than 2/3 of a mile from Husky Gap. We'll sit down there and drink a little bit of water and have a snack. Probably take a couple ibuprofens. Stretch out a little bit. This bottom of this trail has been fantastic. We're at 9.3, maybe 9.4 miles, and here comes the intersection with Husky Gap. We just came from the Appalachian Trail 9 miles ago. We're going that way. 3.1 miles. Alright, we're just departing Husky Gap on the Sugarland Mountain Trail, northbound or descending. And we have about 1.7 miles to go till we start the climb. We were kind of looking at it. It looks like it's maybe a 250 foot to 300 foot climb at the most. That'll be right after we pass Mid's Gap. And then after Mid's Gap, we got to climb out of the gap. Ten and a half miles. We're entering a little roto tunnel here. This has been a fun section. But I think our fun is about to end within about a half a mile when we get to Mid's Gap.
And the hole, there's water in the hole. Is that pretty thick?
We just crossed the 11-mile mark and we're coming up on Mid's Branch. I'm sorry, Mid's Gap. Mid's Gap. There's a manway that comes up from the left that would drop out in Elkmont, right by the campground. There's a nature walk down there, and it's at the back of that nature walk. We sat here and had lunch a couple of Decembers ago after coming up that manway, which is just barely even noticeable through there. Once you get past this roto, though, it's pretty open. And then across the trail, going towards Gatlinburg, it continues that way. We followed it down to the road, Fighting Gap Road. Now we're getting ready to start about a third of a mile climb. Climbing and climbing. Look at the climbers in the Smoky Mountains. Hello, climber. We've been climbing for about 4/10 of a mile now, way off in the distance. I can see the Cove Mountain Fire Tower. We're at 11.4 miles, and we're just about to top out. So this climb was a little bit longer than advertised. Probably ended up being half a mile climb. It's been pretty steep. Not what you want to encounter 11 miles into your hike. But if you're doing Sugarland Mountain for your 900 miles, this is definitely the easiest way to do it. At the 4/10, we gapped out. So we're just a touch over 11.4 miles, and we've got a little over a mile to go to get back to the trailhead of Fighting Creek Gap. I can see Klingman's Dome to the south, and up here around the corner I can see Cove Mountain Fire Tower to the north. Eleven and a half miles, so we got about a mile to go, and right now it's pretty flat walking. I know we're getting ready to head down some big hills. So peaceful except for that giant airplane over top of us. We're at 11.7 miles, and now we've entered this area where we're walking along the eastern face of the northern terminus of Sugarland Mountain, and it is steep to the side. You don't want to miss the trail here. Down, down, down. There's a road down there somewhere, though. I can hear cars. We're about 8/10 of a mile from the trailhead, so we'll probably be seeing the road before too long. .12 mile mark. So So we got about a half a mile to go. Can't see the road yet, but we're close to it because you can hear the cars down there. Can't see Cove Mountain Fire Tower anymore. We're too low now for that. Been a pretty good hike. Sugarland Mountain. April Fool's Day 2019. Mile out now. Rob's going to take a shortcut across this little valley here. Go ahead. We're shooting video of it. Changed his mind, he says. Alright, that's the finish of the Sugarland Mountain Trail. 12.4 miles.
Come on,
Here
Karen.
we are back at back where we started this morning.
Stop right there.